Raider Nation, what's good? Jesse Merrick here. Welcome to another episode of the Silver and Black Sports Network podcast. On today's show, we're diving deeper into the Raiders' Week 2 matchup with the Chargers with none other than Shawne Merriman. Now, look, I know that he's a certified Raider hater, so don't come after me for bringing him on, but he is a great football mind and did a great job of breaking down this matchup. And he was really good about it as well, really impartial. He's a guy with over 45 career sacks, so we dove into the finer points of pass rushing of that side of the game as well. And he offered not only great insight on the game itself, but also on what Maxx Crosby brings to the table as a rusher from the interior, which is a look that we saw in the opener in New England. So you do not want to miss that sit down. It was good stuff. Plus, we've got our second installment of Raiders Rounders, where we bring in our buddy Matt Perrault of Bostonian versus the Book and the Daily Juice podcast to give you his best Raiders bets heading into Week 2. And we also dive into some interesting plays from Week 2's slate of NFL games as well. All that and more coming your way on today's show. All right, Shawne, let's dive right into it, man. Before we really start to dive into the matchup, I want to get your take on what you saw to both teams, in Week 1 of the NFL season. We'll start with the Chargers, a big win down in Brazil against the Chiefs. What was the biggest thing that stuck out to you about that one?
To be honest, obviously I wasn't shocked at all as far as them winning the game. I've been saying that the Chargers, I believe, going to come out top of the division this year. And sometimes when I say it, it comes across a little biased, but it's their time, not just only because of the team they have, but also the coaching staff and Jim Harbaugh. If you look at the history of Jim Harbaugh and what he's done over his career, whether it's at a program in college or whether it's, in the NFL, year 2 to 4 is where he started to really crank it up. And so, that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. And also, Justin Herbert hasn't had a steady coaching staff since he got there. It's been a different head coach, different offense, different offensive coordinator, different quarterback coach. There's been a lot of, just ups and downs. He hasn't had stability. This is the first time he's had stability in a long time, man. So I feel high on the Chargers, as I always have, especially coming into the season.
Yeah, no, definitely. And obviously, I think the thing that stuck out to a lot of people in that one was Justin Herbert. Had a great game, probably one of the best performances of his career so far. What really did you notice about him and what he's able to do? He was attacking the middle of the field a lot against that Chiefs defense.
Yeah, he's being, definitely more careful with the football, for sure, making better decisions, making decisions. But also, they're not relying on Justin Herbert to go out and win football games anymore. Yeah. That is a game changer when you have somebody like that, a quarterback, who can win a game for you if he needed to, but he's not required to. They have a balanced running attack. They're finding them, as you said, the middle of the field. They got Keenan Allen is going to show up in big plays when it's time. And then Quentin Johnston, now has some relief because he got wide receivers who can take that pressure off from him. And I never really I never believed that Quentin Johnston was ready to be number one yet. Yeah. He's just not there. He was forced in because of where he was drafted, but I don't think he was necessarily ready to jump in that number one spot. So now some of that pressure is alleviated by having Keenan Allen and some of these guys there. It makes that team much more balanced.
No, definitely. And I think offensively, specifically on the offensive line, Joe Alt did a heck of a job against, Chris Jones. What did you see out of that matchup? Just the way that they were able to stop that Chiefs defense. Obviously, that's an exotic defense. They really bottled them up.
Yeah. And, so when Joe Alt got drafted, they came in for their media day. And, I was also shooting some content for the pregame shows and things like that. So we're in the room, and there's these chairs sitting there, and he's standing behind the chairs. So I'm looking at him. I'm like, I thought he was standing on something. I thought there was another level to the stairs, and he was standing on something. He walked around, and I realized this dude was on the same level I was. I said, "Oh my God." He's just a big individual. And I had a great conversation with him about now switching from left tackle to right tackle last year, and now he's back on the left. So playing on the right side is different. Your footwork. Your how far you kick back, how you kick back. So we had to learn how to play right tackle. But with Slater going down, him moving back left, what he did to Chris Jones, I was looking at it completely different because I know how great of a player Chris Jones is. Yeah. So I'm sitting there looking at that game and just watch him lock him out and watch him put his hands on him and watch him not give up any ground when Chris Jones went to go bull rush. That dude is something else. He's going to be really good for a long time.
Yeah, no, that was really impressive for sure. I got to get your take on the defense too. I mean, look, this is a Chiefs offense that obviously is a little different, and Xavier Worthy going down early probably impacted some things. But the Chargers didn't allow any really deep field, passes and things like that. They really cut off the chunk plays. How much of a game changer was that?
It was huge, and they're keeping everything in front of them and going up and making plays, even making in-game adjustments. For example, Henley going and spying Patrick Mahomes when needed to, right? Because Patrick Mahomes is not a running quarterback, but he can hurt you bad and go pick up 10 to 12 yards and get a first down if your back is turned in man-to-man coverage. And so he was able to spy him when the times are necessary and go make key plays. And, he pretty much eliminated. I think Travis Kelce had a couple catches, but, there was nothing meaningful in that game. And hopefully Xavier Worthy comes back from that shoulder. But he's the guy to stretch the field. So everything else just kept in front of the defense, and they went up and make plays when they had to, man. So they're a very dangerous team right now. I think they're just so physical. The physicality of the Chargers, man, is what's going to excel these guys and start beating people up in that third and fourth quarter of the season of the game.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was definitely a great showing for them in the opener. The Raiders, they grinded one out on the road in New England. I know this is a tough week for you to talk about the Raiders in nice fashion, but what stood out to you most about what they managed to do in New England against a team that, look, coming off a 4-12 season or 4-win season,
right,
but still a lot of good things, especially their front seven on defense.
Yeah, man, that front seven, obviously led by Maxx Crosby, and I got a chance to spend time with Maxx this offseason when he had his sack summit with him, Von Miller, and Cam Jordan. And I see the technicality. I mean, he's a madman. He's all over the place. He's causing havoc. But it's also a lot of method to his madness and how he pass rushes when he does certain things. And so just to get a chance to pick his brain, is why he's elite, why he's, a guy that can disrupt your entire offense. But it seems like now he has some help, right? Like I think in the past, especially last year, Maxx was getting double teamed a lot, sometimes triple teamed.
Yeah.
And that is exhausting when you do that for 4 quarters. And so I saw now they got some guys that take the pressure off of him. So he's going to get some one-on-ones this year. And then you look at the offense side of the ball, Geno Smith is an upgrade for sure from what they've ever had. He's very careful with the ball. He makes really good decisions. He also was also great about Geno. He provides a spark, right? Like he makes the rest of that team feel like, oh, okay, we got this. And that's, they didn't have that. They didn't have that before. It is tough for a defense. And I talked to Max, but I talked to any defensive player. It is tough for a defense to go out there knowing that your offense isn't going to score points. You can do that for the first half. Third, that second half, that third quarter, you start to wear down. Your confidence starts to drop. That's what happened to those guys last year. So Geno gives them a breath of fresh air. Like, hey, we can go win with this guy. And then Genty, man. I mean, I know he got his first touchdown, but he's another one. He's going to be good for a long time. And there is no better security blanket in the offense when you can run the football.
Yeah.
So again, we talked about Justin Herbert not having to go out there and win games. A lot of these games this year, they're going to be able to rely on that running attack. And Geno, the pressure's going to be off to him to go out there and make some big plays in that game because they're going to be very well balanced. And then obviously with Pete Carroll, very well coached, man. That if you look at the coaching division, the AFC West coaching division is crazy. It's insane. So they're going to be a much better team than they were last year, no doubt.
Yeah, it's a fun time in the AFC West, man. Whoever finishes last in this division is probably going to be the best 4 seed, in the NFL. I really believe that. And so there's a couple things I want to hit on with that. One thing for the Raiders, like, again, we talked about Genty gets his touchdown, but the running game as a whole just wasn't quite there. Couldn't really get going, but they really stuck to their play action passing attack. As a defender, when a team isn't able to run the ball, but stays true to that, PA attack, how difficult does that make things for you as a backer?
It wasn't even the fact that they couldn't run the ball, it's that they can run. And that's why the play action works. Right. And that, so the ability to pose a threat, because they put so much emphasis on stopping Genty. That's why he couldn't run the ball. The ability to pose a threat that you still can run the ball still opens up the play action. And for a pass rusher like myself, it is difficult, man. You can't pin your ears back and go. You don't know if these guys are going to run the ball, stick with the run and just grind it out, or they're going to every series or so hit you with a play action. Now you can't get off the line of scrimmage. You're hesitant. You're trying to worry about the running game. And so long as you have that in your arsenal, you don't have to be great at running the football. You just have to be good enough to make the defense feel, if you guys don't stop this, we can do some damage.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to go back to the defensive side. You talked about Maxx and the fact that it looks like he's got some support now. I've been really impressed with what I saw out of the defensive line. Tons of bodies that can rotate through. One of the looks we did see, though, is they kicked Tyree Wilson outside and moved Maxx inside and had him rushing against the guard. How much does the game change when you do get to rush from the inside when you're typically an outside rusher?
It's hell for guards to have somebody like Maxx on you because guards typically like to work in the box. Yeah. They don't like to go out of their comfort zone. So somebody like Maxx, who's really good in space, right? Jab steps, get those long arms on you, go inside, go outside, spin. Guards are not used to dealing with that. And so when you can go work one-on-one with the guard, and Maxx can, it causes hell for offenses because now he's not on the edge. You're not going to waste your time in sliding protecting. You're going to think that guard can block Maxx one-on-one and not have any help. And more likely than not, Maxx is going to have the advantage. But it takes a special kind of defensive player to be able to line up on that guard in that 3 technique and work on him to the point where he can actually he can actually have success. Everybody can't do that. You got him, the Myles Garrett's. Like there's about 6 or 7 guys who can do that in the NFL, where you can line them up with the wide 5 or wide 7 outside of a tackle or tight end, and then also you can put them down in the 3. Or tight 3 or wide 3, and then work one-on-one on that guard. And so what I'm seeing is they know that teams are going to fan protection or slide protection towards Maxx. What you going to do when he's inside? There's nowhere to slide to. You're going to put him one-on-one with the guard, and most likely that's an advantage for Maxx.
Yeah, no, it turns into a game of kind of where's Waldo trying to track down a guy like him, and it's so interesting. Also, too, another thing I want to get to, we've seen the Raiders using Jamal Adams as a linebacker. As a rusher, he's a real interesting piece. Just what's your take on him as a linebacker, the way that he can be used? Because like you can go to a base in a nickel with him as the linebacker. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting wrinkle that Patrick Graham can throw out there.
No funny, it's no slight to him.
Yeah,
I've always thought that he was a linebacker. I always thought he was an in-the-box guy. As somebody, I never really seen him as a coverage guy. I know that he can do it. It's just, in my opinion, it's never been his strong suit. Mm-hmm. I've always thought he was a guy to drop in the box and turn it into an 8-man front, always. But he has the versatility to go back there and play safety and play deep and can cover when you need him to. But he's most effective in that box because he's so explosive. And he plays like a linebacker anyway. So I think that, again, it goes down to coaching because I've been in coaching situations where they don't notice that. And it's helping. You're playing safety. We're going to put you in this deep set here and have you covering over top when he's most times that he's given up plays, it's always been deep balls. It's always been deep balls. That's Jamal's biggest problem. It's been deep balls. You bring him up and have the ability to drop him back to help out over top. Now he's a different kind of player.
Yeah, he definitely is. Now let's shift gears to the matchup, Monday Night Football. Obviously, that's the reason we're bringing you on here. What are the matchups in particular you have circled that are going to be the difference in this game?
It's going to be who's successful at that run early.
Yeah.
Because if the run game in this game early is going to set up everything. That play action, like we just finished talking about, control the clock, being able to get those quick passes off to Keenan down the middle because now the linebackers and everybody is so up on the line of scrimmage. So Keenan's going to be able to get behind them, sit down, and catch those 7 to 12-yard passes right there on the spot. And so it's really going to be about either stopping a run or who's going to have success in early because it's just going to open up the rest of the playbook. That's, in my opinion, that's what this game is going to be, the game of physicality. That first and second, it's going to be how much punishment can you take, right? Who can stop who? And that's the game plan. Whoever can't stop the run is probably going to lose. And the Chargers they're a big front, man. I spent time with them during the offseason, and I was there. I think it was OTAs or something they were doing, and I'm out there on the sidelines just watching practice or some of the practice, and the offensive line walked by me, and I'm like looking up. And I was, oh, my God, from the left over to the right tackle. And this is when Slater was still healthy. He was the smallest guy, but he was the best player on the offensive line. But he was the smallest guy.
Yeah.
Mackay and Joe Alt and all Pippins, these dudes are huge. And so this team is built to run the football downhill. And as long as by the way, with two running backs who are more than capable of doing just that. And so this makeup of the team is physical.
No, definitely. And as a linebacker, like you have to love playing in those games, those like buckle your chin strap type of games, right? I mean, how much did you get up for those?
I got up for them because I had to, right? I mean, you ain't got no other choice. And so, like when I played, we're playing the Chiefs, and they had Priest Holmes back there, and they had Larry Johnson back there, and you had Brian Waters and Willie Rofe and Jason Dunn. I'm missing somebody, but again, they just ran the ball until you couldn't stop them anymore. I mean, I would be so sore after those games. I wouldn't get healthy until like Wednesday or Thursday because your shoulders just taking on those powers, getting under those guys. And it wasn't like, I don't care if they had a run that was 2 yards. They'll line up in the same set and give you a power from a far set, but just bringing it on it was just a nonstop of just running the football. I see at least early on in this game on Monday that's what type of situation is going to be.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we inject you with some truth serum here. What happens on Monday night and why?
Yeah, I think the Chargers win by 10 plus. I think so.
10 plus.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got them like 3 plus, but I think they win, 10 plus, man, by touchdown to field goal. They're just playing at a high level right now, and when you got Justin Herbert clicking on all cylinders, if you got Justin, if this team was playing what the Raiders had last year, it'd be a 2 touchdown plus game. I really believe.
No, and I agree with that for sure.
But again, I just think that the Chargers are playing a brand of football that most people don't want to play. They're being very smart on the offense side of the football. They're aggressive when they need to on the defense side. You got Khalil Mack and Thule, these guys, they're getting after the quarterback. And when you can run the ball on offense and pass when you need to and be successful at that, it's a recipe for a team to win a lot of football games. So I got the Chargers, by 10.
All right, Raider Nation's going to hate to hear that, but I think they expected it as well.
Yeah, for sure. You ain't getting too much good out of me, but
yeah. Hey, we got a little bit. We got you to give him some props,
a little bit. But I got friends on the team, obviously, and I got friends in the front office. But it's Raider week. You know how it go. So
nah, definitely. I'm curious too. There's some more stuff we want to get to here, but do you have like a favorite memory in this rivalry? Because it's a fun rivalry.
Yeah, probably in 06. We played a Monday Night Football. I think I had three or four sacks, something like that. I don't think I played the fourth quarter, but going into that stadium, they stopped us. The fans literally stood in front of the bus. We had to double up the police escort to get in, and they were throwing stuff at the bus. There was pure hatred between the two fan bases and us. I mean, it was pretty bad. But playing in the black hole, man, like on Monday Night Football, you can't even. It seemed like a movie. You can't really script things to look like that because you felt like you were walking into some kind of coliseum, and it was a do or die situation because the fans hated each other. For one, they definitely hated us. But yeah, man, it's always been a great rivalry. I think it's a little bit different now that they're in Vegas and the Chargers in LA. But the dislike is still there for sure.
Yeah, you can definitely feel the hate. All right, Shawne, so let's shift gears, man. You're a guy that's involved in a whole lot, and Vegas is an interesting city. That's where you live now. There's all kinds of stuff in the fight game, the fight world, mixed martial arts, all of that. We know that you're involved in lights out extreme fighting, and you've got a big one coming up September 20th in Long Beach. Before we dive into that fight and what you guys got dialed up on the card there, tell me a little bit about how you got involved just in fight sports in general.
Yeah, I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland. My uncles were professional boxers, and so I just grew up just naturally boxing, being from the area, D.C., Washington D.C. area. And Jay Glazer saw me hitting the mitts one day in his gym in 2005, and he said, "Oh man, you can box! I didn't know you can box." I said, "Yeah, my uncles were professional boxers," and I kind of shoot it off. He said, "Look, I think you should try MMA because it'll help out with your hand-eye coordination, being able to use your hands more active." Endurance, stamina, just everything. So he texted me an address, and the next day I showed up, and Jake Glazer's on my left, Randy Couture's on my right. And that's what all started, man. I started training with Randy Couture, and it really, what the deal was, it helped me out with my hands a lot. So anyway, I started training with these guys every offseason. Tyron Woodley, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz. I mean, I've been in there with just about everybody. And I'm headed there when I leave here to go to Extreme Couture to get some work in as well.
That's great.
But yeah, I ended up launching Lights Out Extreme Fighting, and we got a big fight coming up here Saturday, September 20th in Long Beach, California. So anybody, if you're in SoCal, we got a massive card. Probably the biggest our headline is Tyrell Fortune. Pound for pound number one heavyweight right now, and he's
That's awesome.
Look, we're going to try to keep him for as long as we can, but he might be one of those ones that we can't afford, right? So he can go up to the UFC. But we got Jake Babian on this card as well. Renato who fought in PFL and Bellator. And so look, every fight we're getting some of these top end guys that really have that shot to go to the next level, and we're okay with that because we want to, as we grow the brand for Lights Out Extreme Fighting, we want to get recognized as some of the best fighters come out of there.
Yeah, no, definitely.
We'll be live on my network, Lights Out Sports TV. So you can download Lights Out Sports TV on any smart TV, iOS and Android you got. But we got a ton of free live sports there as well.
That's awesome. Hey, people love free, man. And that's the thing. Like, Raider Nation obviously is all throughout California, especially in Long Beach. So, like, if you guys can't make it out there, definitely do check that out. Lights Out Sports TV. And that's really cool, man. I'm curious, too. Like, Maxx is involved in MMA and striking and stuff like that. Have you guys ever, messed around or done anything like that?
I've been trying to get him. I've been trying to get him over maybe the UFC, over the Apex, get something with him. But I'll let him go do his thing for these next several months, and I'll try. Yeah.
Catch up with him after. Well, hey, Shawne, we really appreciate the time, man. Again, guys, check it out. Lights Out Extreme Fighting, September 20th in Long Beach. If you can't be there, go check them out online. You said it's a free stream, right, on Lights Out Sports TV. It's good stuff, man. I love seeing you do it. And again, thank you for the time. I know it's not always easy coming on the Raiders podcast, but we appreciate you jumping on with us.
Man, I'll appreciate you.
Hey, shout out to Shawne. I really appreciate him taking the time to jump on the pod. We've got a mutual friend who helped make it happen, so I'm stoked that we could actually get his perspective. And even though he picked the Chargers, he was fair. So let's give the guy some credit for that, huh? All right, now we'll switch gears and hit week 2 of Raiders Rounders, where we bring in the homie Matt Perrault from the Bostonian versus the Book and the Daily Juice podcast to give you guys a look at the Raiders from a betting perspective. This week's segment was a really fun one. We broke down what week 1 told us about the Raiders, and we also dived into the top picks heading into Monday night's game. I think you guys are going to be happy to hear his take on the game as well. Plus, he's got the top plays from the weekend's slate of games as well. All right, Matt, we're back now for week 2 of Raiders Rounders. After week 1, how we feeling, man?
Look, it was a good week, right? We got the Raiders right at plus 3.5. They won the game outright against the Patriots. I'm the Patriot fan, so I'm supporting my team. Raiders gave it to my team. They're 0-1 as they head to Miami, but we got the Ashton Genty anytime touchdown. I thought the game might lean towards a higher scoring type of atmosphere. The entire NFL was dead unders. It was one of the best weeks. Yeah. The books cleaned up because everybody thought offense after what we saw with the kickoffs in the preseason. People thought we'd see offense. No offense to be found. It was a dead under week across the board. So the Patriots Raiders, no difference. I thought Trayvon Henderson would have a bigger role than he did with the Patriots offense. It was pretty lackluster day all the way across the board for Drake May and company for New England. But from a Raider perspective, coming out of there with the W, I thought they had a real good shot to win the game, and they did. And I think they got a lot of momentum heading to Monday night.
No, they definitely did. And look, 2 out of 3 ain't too bad. You also cashed on the Cowboys as well, covering in that one. That was one I'm sure a lot of people are like, what? So got to give you your props. You made some people some money as long as they listen to you. We'll see if we can do it around this time for week 2. Before we do get there, though, I'm curious for your take from a betting perspective. You had said that you had hit on the Raiders over in terms of the win total the last couple of years, but you were staying off of it this year because you didn't really quite know what to expect. That total was at 7.5. What's your take on what you saw on the first one for the people that might have taken it?
I think if you're on the over, I think you got to feel very good about a road win in week number 1 on the East Coast. Because I think if you're looking at the money that came in on the Patriots, everybody thought that was a win. So if you're on the win total for the Patriots, you're nervous because that's a game you thought at home opener, West Coast team coming east. That's a game you put into the win column. On the flip side, if you bet the Raiders over, I think you're feeling great because you know you have home games still to come. You're going to play a lot of games in the Western time zone, in the Pacific time zone. So yeah, I think 8-9 wins. I think if you're a Raider fan, I think that's kind of the floor right now. I mean, you're thinking 10 is potentially possible if this team gets hot.
No, definitely. And then another thing we talked about as well was Ashton Genty touchdowns for the year, 7.5. You said take the over. I agree. I think this guy's going to get the rock a ton. Not the greatest day for Ashton. Goes for 19 carries, 38 yards, but he does get into the end zone You still got to be feeling pretty good about that bet, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it went the way I thought it was going to go. I mean, they got to the red zone. It was about a 4-yard run that he had, but anytime we're inside the 5-yard line, that's why they drafted Ashton Genty. You made the point. You don't draft a guy as highly as they drafted Ashton Genty, not to give him the rock in those situations. And he broke 2 tackles on the way to the end zone, which is what he's going to do in the red zone. So, that bet, I feel very confident that bet will come in. I mean, he could be. Again, I thought he might get to 10. I think double digits is possible for him scoring this year.
Nah, yeah, he's definitely going to rack up the touchdowns for sure. I thought it was funny. There's all kinds of people saying like, oh, like, I don't believe in Ashton anymore and all this stuff. And I'm like, he got in the end zone. And obviously, again, didn't have the greatest day, but it's a young offensive line. Like, give it time. And game one for him in the NFL, like, I think he's going to be just fine. All right, so let's move ahead now. Week 2, Monday Night Football here in Las Vegas against the Chargers. You got him at 3.5 as the number on that game. What's your take on how that all plays out? You like the Raiders in this one again?
Yeah, I'm going to go back and take the Raiders again. Again, it's a numbers play for me at 3.5. Some of the books have seen some action come in early on the Raiders, and they moved to 3. But I think that 3.5, that hook tells you a lot about what the books are anticipating here. And look, the Raiders at home, I know that they've not been great, but after you get a win on the road against the Patriots, you come back home. We live in Vegas. We know what the market's like. It wants a winner. And at 1-0, with a chance with the Chargers coming to town, this is a huge moment for this football team. If they can open up 2-0 on the year, it's Monday night, it's prime time. You have to expect the atmosphere to be electric at Allegiant Stadium for this. And I just think this is a 24-21 type of game, one way or the other. Raiders win, Chargers win, but these two teams have played so many games that have come right down to a last-second field goal. I think we're going to see a similar situation here, and I'll take the points with the home dog.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I agree with you. Like, this is a massive game. And I hate the whole hyperbole of like, oh, must win. And it's week 2 and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
But man, like, you win this game going to Washington to play the Commanders in week 3 at 2-0. Like you said, a lot of people are going to be talking about you. The vibes are going to be great. Like, this is as big as it gets for them. Especially, again, being Monday Night Football at home against a division rival. Got to have it. I like the 3.5 as well. It's an interesting one. And I agree. Defensive battle. We saw what the Chargers defense did against the Chiefs in week 1. Didn't allow any deep plays down the field. Obviously, for the Raiders against the Patriots, the deep ball was big for them. So can they break through? What's the running game going to look like to get the Chargers to kind of bring some guys up and dictate that a bit more? Going to be a real interesting battle in that regard to see how both defenses fare against these quarterbacks that both looked really good in week 1, right?
Yeah, I mean, Herbert playing obviously in prime time on a big stage, already delivering, beating the Chiefs. I mean, if they win, they open up 2-0 in the division. So it's even a bigger game for the Chargers if they get a W here. And look, Harbaugh has been extremely profitable as a head coach in the NFL. He's 13-5-1 with the Chargers ATS. Like, that's a pretty darn good mark for a head coach. And so if you want to back and wait, I mean, I did this with the Iowa State game, and I think you could do this with this game as well. You can take 3.5 right now, and then in game come in and take and lay a point or a 1.5 with the Chargers in game, and then have the game fall 3, and you win both bets. So there is a strategic way you could bet this game, just if it does go the way we think, which is lower scoring, tighter, one score type final.
Yeah, well, and like you said too, like Harbaugh, that's a funny one. If they want to fade you, as solid as he's been for bettors, that's insane. That's as good as a lock as it gets, I guess. But Raiders fans don't want to hear that.
No,
that's for sure. Talking about the quarterbacks here, Justin Herbert. You think he's going to have a nice little day, huh?
Yeah, I would look to his props if you're going to back it. I think over 1.5 touchdown tosses for Herbert is probably a pretty good bet. I think the Raiders are going to try to take the run game away and try to focus in. Hampton had a pretty nice debut. I don't really love Austin Eckler, but I think that's going to be the key here for the Raiders is to say, okay, we got to stop the run. And then I think Herbert's going to be able to go deep. I liked what I saw out of the receivers. I liked what I saw out of Herbert. I mean, the running game for him, I think over on his rushing yards may not be a bad way of looking at it either. So even though I do like the Raiders to cover the 3.5 points, I think backing Justin Herbert over 1.5 touchdowns and over on his rushing props is a good way to look.
Yeah, definitely. All right, now let's move along to this full slate of games here. It all gets going tonight, Thursday Night Football. We got the Commanders at the Packers. I think over the last couple years, maybe not the most interesting game. Now it's a really intriguing game with two solid quarterbacks going up against each other. What do you like in that game?
Yeah, I was surprised. The professional money is all on Washington, and I'm actually surprised by it, to be honest with you. I like the Packers, and mostly it's because of Matt LaFleur and how dominant Matt LaFleur has been in week 1 and in September. I mean, he's been one of the most profitable head coaches to back, and LaFleur in the month of September is 16-6 ATS as a head coach. So, and at Lambeau, he's 8-0 against the spread in September. So this is a guy that he cashes tickets at home, and I don't like Washington. I haven't been that big on the Commanders. Yeah, they beat the Giants. It was 21-6. Okay, like I don't think that's anything to write home about. And I do think the running attack tonight is going to be effective for the Packers. I know the offensive line's a bit banged up, and I know Micah Parsons is not as good as he will be. But I still think that defense is good enough to slow down the Commanders enough to let the Packers and Jordan Love get the W tonight. I laid the 3.
Yeah, that's a really interesting game for sure. So many layers to it. Like you said, I'm curious to see how Michael looks, with the Packers. How many snaps does he actually play? All the different things. Is it all this stuff just continues along for them? Going to be a fun one to watch. This weekend has a lot of games that kind of just look like boring on paper, to be completely honest, as I go through it. But I look at some of the numbers here, and I see that they've got the Ravens. Looks like the biggest favorites of the weekend, 11.5 over the Browns. Do you think they cover that? What's your take on that game?
Well, I think that's the number one play for anybody in a survivor pool. So the number one play was the Broncos against the Titans last week. That came in. It was a little hairy, but it got there. I think the Ravens laying this number of points is purely because the Browns looked somewhat competent, but they turned the ball over in key moments against the Bengals, and the Ravens gave up 40-plus points in a historic collapse in the fourth quarter against the Buffalo Bills, and nobody expects the Ravens to open up 0-2 on the year. It's Joe Flacco revenge game. I get all that, but, I mean, this is one of those – I would not want to be holding a ticket for the Browns. It's either the Ravens or pass, because in the fourth quarter, that game would get really far away from Cleveland, and like maybe they're down by 7 points the entire game, and then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, it's a 21-point deficit and the game's a blowout. So I would be very careful about backing the Browns.
Interesting. All right, and another one from the morning slate. We got the Niners, the walking wounded, heading to New Orleans. I'd imagine you're probably not touching that one, given all the craziness that's going on with them.
Yeah, look, it's Mac Jones. No thanks. Okay, I'm a Patriot fan. No thanks. I want no part of Mac Jones starting. All you Niner fans that were clamoring for Mac Jones in the draft, and you wanted him. You got him now. Okay, you asked for him. You were mad about the drafting, and why did we draft that guy? Mac Jones was right there. Okay, yeah. Now you have him. Enjoy it. No, I'm not touching Niners versus the Saints.
I don't blame you at all. I wouldn't either with a 10-foot pole. All right, now as we move along, another one. This is one of the more interesting ones the weekend, I think, to me, because of the storylines of the coaches. We got Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson squaring up against each other. Bears at Lions. How do you digest that one from a betting perspective?
I don't know what to make of this game for a variety of reasons, because I'm pretty concerned. Like if you're looking as a fan of the Lions and like you're looking at your team and you're like, okay, what did we do well in that game in prime time on Monday night? I don't know. In the beginning, the scripted plays, Caleb opened up 10 for 10.
Yeah.
But then everything went to crap. Like, They just didn't look good. They didn't look competent. The offense didn't know. I mean, Caleb was missing wide open receivers. The defense didn't look all that motivated. I would be concerned if I was a Bears fan, because we know what the Lions are going to do. They're ferociously mad about what happened in their game against the Packers. They want blood. And this is Ben Johnson going back, and I'm assuming Dan Campbell will want to teach his protege a thing or two. I would be very careful backing the Browns here. And I didn't like Caleb props. I would be looking to fade Caleb Williams in this game. Give me the Lions.
Yeah, Lions over Bears. Interesting there. This one, just for the simple fact of what the number is and how bad the Dolphins looked, I'm curious your take as a fan of the Patriots. This is a pick 'em.
This game opened up with a 2.5-point number. Okay,
that's crazy.
This has been a one way to the window game. Everyone is betting the Patriots.
Yeah.
That is scary. I'm not going to lie. Okay, the Patriots, we just talked about them against the Raiders. I am 48 years old. I have watched numerous Patriots teams go to Miami in the month of September and literally melt. They put you on the sun side. You have all sorts of heat to deal with and humidity that does not exist in New England. I'm in New England right now. I can tell you it was 49 degrees this morning. It's not anywhere near like that in Miami. I'm concerned. The Dolphins have the Bills next week. If they lose to the Patriots, they are 0-3 to start the year, and Mike McDaniel is starting to put the for sale signs out on his house.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty concerned about this. I'm not betting it, but it won't shock me at all if the Dolphins win this game and beat the Patriots and the Pats open up 0-2.
Yeah, we're talking about another must-win for both teams in week 2, right? Let's move along. Yeah, I don't like that one at all. That's pretty wild. We got to move along to one of the bigger games of the weekend. Eagles at Chiefs. Obviously, the Chiefs, fall to the Chargers in Brazil. This is another interesting one. 1.5 points. That the Eagles are the favorites in that. I know you've said that you don't think the Chiefs are the Chiefs. How do you think this one plays out?
So some stats that are just bonkers, and the Action Network, I'm taking it from their site because it's crazy. But the KC Chiefs off after a loss, Patrick Mahomes is 21-4 straight up, 21-4. Okay,
that's wild.
But what's weird, 13-11-1 against the spread. So what that tells me is the books are juicing the number up after the Chiefs lose because they know that they win. But they don't win by the margin that the Chiefs are the books are putting up from a betting perspective. So that's a little interesting. Since 2019, Patrick Mahomes is 6-0 straight up after a Chief loss, and he goes up against an AFC West opponent, which is kind of wild. This is obviously the Eagles, it's not an AFC West opponent. But if you want to talk about rest and you want to talk about Mahomes and as an underdog, I mean, this was the narrative all last year, right? Mahomes as a dog, you have to go ahead and back him. And where this number closes, we'll see. Right now, the Eagles are favored by 1. It only takes one, monster big bet on the Chiefs to flip that, and the Chiefs will close as the favorite. So I'd be careful about playing the narrative that Patrick Mahomes is a dog. You have to bet it because he may not be a dog come kickoff. But I would be very surprised if the Chiefs open up 0-2. That would be very surprising. And I'm not that high on the Eagles. I'm lower on the Eagles than most. I'll take KC at home.
Yeah, no, you definitely are on that. With the interesting takes that you've got on both of those guys, but I agree. With the Chiefs, like they go to 0-2, the world's gonna be set on fire. I don't know what ESPN's gonna do if they
flip it, right? I mean, but flip it. If the Chargers beat the Raiders, right?
Yeah.
And the Chargers are 2-0 with a head-to-head win on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs go to 0-2, and the Broncos win their game. They're 2-0.
Yeah.
The Chiefs will be 2 games behind 2 teams with a heads-up loss already to the Chargers. So it's early in the year, but you can see why, and I was one of those people fading the Chiefs in the AFC West. The Chiefs can make the playoffs, but with the Broncos and the Chargers both looking the way that they are looking, and the schedule that the Chiefs are going to have this year, oh boy, they better beat the Eagles. They better win.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there on that one. Let's look at the Sunday night game. This is an interesting matchup to me. I mean, the Falcons now with Michael Penix at QB. Obviously, we talked about the Vikings last week, how we feel about them, and Kevin O'Connell, how good of a coach he is. J.J. McCarthy looks solid in the opener as well. How do you digest this one? I mean, they got the Vikings 3.5-point favorites. I think that's a real interesting game, and I'm excited to watch that just as a fan of football on Sunday Night Football. That should be fun.
Yeah, the pros are telling you that the books have the wrong number. It opened up at 4.5. We're down to 3. So, I mean, this has been all Falcons money coming in, and I think rightfully so. The Falcons should have won that game against the Bucs in week 1. Now, I'm on the Bucs to win the AFC South, so I was perfectly comfortable with the mistakes that were made late in that game by the Falcons, but that was a game that should have been won by Atlanta, and now it's another dome. They're going to the Vikings to take on a J.J. McCarthy team that, okay, we talked about the Bears and how bad the Bears looked. McCarthy in the first half was like looking like a guy who might wind up in the back of a milk carton. Like he was lost. Like he was completely clueless. And then he flipped. And so is that Kevin O'Connell coaching? Is that him just figuring it out? Is that the game slowing down and he's able to see the field better? We're going to find out because the Falcons are going to pass rush him and come after him aggressively. And look, they ran the ball really well in the second half. Yeah. The Falcons are going to take that away and make it a J.J. McCarthy game and say, you didn't do much without the running game. Once you had a running game, then you did a lot. So stop the run. J.J., you got to beat us. I would lean towards taking the 3.5 points and taking the Falcons and plus 3.5.
Interesting play there. Yeah, no, I agree. This will be a good one to see exactly what McCarthy has, because he did look really good in the second half. But want to see what it looks like without a running game for sure. Put it on his shoulders. Obviously, Vikings fans walk away from that game feeling good about what they got. Real curious to see how that plays out. Let's look at the other Monday Night Football game here as we close it out. We got the Bucks and the Texans staying in the NFC South, at least with the Bucks there. How do you think this one plays out? This is another tight game, and I think even the quarterback battle is going to be fun. I was never a huge Baker Mayfield guy. I've since come around on him, but him and C.J. Stroud scoring up against each other before the Raiders kick things off.
Yeah, we have not talked teasers, and at some point we could probably explain further. But this is a teaser special. Like if you're looking for a teaser leg, give the Bucks 8.5 points. This team for the Texans, they're not beating anybody by double digits, and they're not beating this Tampa team by double digits. Tampa may win the game outright, but I think at plus 8.5, you cross both 3, you cross 7. This is a prime, perfect teaser game. You can tease it with the Raider game, but I'd be careful about that. I don't really want to include the Raiders too much with that. But if you need a teaser leg from Sunday to Monday, absolutely Bucks plus 8.5 is a play you should completely consider. Bucks outright to win the game as well. I think it's a good play. I think they could beat this Houston Texans team. I don't like Houston very much at all. I don't like their defense, although they got good pass rushers. Their defensive line is, obviously they got a couple of first-round picks on it, but their offensive line is a patchwork quilt at the moment for C.J. Stroud. So not high in the Texans.
Yeah, going up against a Todd Bowles team that loves to bring the heat too. That's a recipe for disaster. That is for sure. All right, Matt, like I said, it was a solid start to Raiders Rounders in week 1. We'll see how we do in week 2. I'm looking forward to it. Again, to recap, you're taking the Raiders plus 3.5. You like them to come on top on this one. And then obviously Justin Herbert, you're expecting a nice game from him. You think he's going to go over 1.5 touchdown passes. We'll see how it all plays out. What else you got for the folks over the next couple days here?
Well, we'll be breaking down all the games. The Bostonian versus the Book is on YouTube at Boston versus the Book. You guys can go and check that out. And if you like daily picks and plays, I host a podcast called the Daily Juice Podcast that can be found wherever you guys get your audio or video podcasts, where we pick games every single day, baseball, whatever's going on that day. Big fight in Vegas on Saturday night. Should be a lot of fun.
Kind of a big deal, right? Who are you taking in the fight?
I like Bud Crawford. I worked in Omaha. Too. I know Bud. I know his people. I've been a Bud fan for a long time. I know Vegas loves Canelo. I get it. They love Canelo. Give me Bud Crawford by decision.
There you go. I'm taking Bud as well, which is hard for me to do. Canelo, mi hermano, man. Like, that's tough. But anyway, Matt, thanks, man. And we will catch you again next week, week 3. Hey, good stuff. I'm not a huge gambler myself, but I love the perspective. And Matt always brings the heat with some intriguing stats and insights. So hopefully he can help me make you guys some money as well. All right, and now it's time for my pick for the Raiders game against the Chargers on Monday Night Football over at Legion Stadium here in Las Vegas. I picked the Raiders to win in week 1 against the Pats, and I'm doing it again this week. Now, look, I'm not always going to pick the silver and black, but my gut says they pull it off this week and move to 2-0. I think that Raiders D-line is going to give everyone not named Joe Alt and Mekhi Becton problems up front there. And I know their O-line fared really well against the Chiefs, which is a tough defense to contain, but I'm just really high on the Raiders pass rush, and I do think that they come through in this one as well. My main worry is the way Herbert attacked the intermediate areas of the middle of the field against KC. You got to keep an eye on how that one goes. That could kind of dictate things and sway things to the Chargers. The linebackers and safeties really have to be on point. But on the flip side, if the Raiders' offense is good and can get to 24 points, it spells issues for the Chargers. Herbert's record is really bad when his defense gives up 24 more points, which is something they've done a lot over the years. So the magic number to come away with and to get that win is 24 points. Now, we'll see how it goes on Monday. Today, though, we're back out at Raiders HQ for practice, and since they're playing on Monday, the schedule shifted, so this will actually be our first day in the locker room to catch up with the guys heading into that matchup on Monday, so keep an eye out on Twitter for some coverage from down there at the facility this afternoon. And as I always mentioned, if you're not already subscribed to our newsletter, head to silverandblacksportsnetwork.com to do subscribe. You can sign up for our free version, which gets you Friday's edition of our newsletter, or for just $6 a month, you gain access to all 3 of our newsletters dropping on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings at 6 a.m. And again, make sure you like and subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you guys are listening to us. If you like what you heard, hit us with a 5-star review and leave a comment as well, please. We do appreciate you guys watching and listening, however you take us in, and we will see you here next on the pod over to Legion Stadium after the game on Monday for our post-game show. I can't wait for that. In the meantime, take it easy, guys.